Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. Today, we are going to talk about the benefits to men of having an orgasm in every encounter. And if that is a new idea to you, then it'll be very interesting. And if it's not, then you'll feel very validated. Before we do that, please do subscribe. The most recent subscriber episode is when your rigidity is harming your relationship with your husband and kids. And of course, I don't only think women are rigid. There are plenty of rigid men. I talk about that in OCPD, or when your wife thinks you're difficult, and when your wife thinks you're defensive, which is another form of rigid and difficult. But also women frequently are. There are higher rates of anxiety in women, and anxiety is synonymous with rigidity to a large extent. So listen to that one if applicable. And there's over 100 and something, maybe over 110 other subscriber episodes by now. So definitely subscribe. And if you like discussing these topics, you should also join my Facebook group, which has a lot of people that like to discuss things like sex, relationships, etc., etc. And just since I haven't said all this stuff in a while, if you need a therapist, check out Best Life Behavioral Health, which is my group practice with lots of therapists and coaches. And coaches can work everywhere, including a sex and intimacy coach, Heather, who's great, and a life coach and a relationship coach. So there's lots of coaches, and they can work anywhere because they don't have the state restrictions. All right. So anyway, what do I mean by a man not having an orgasm? Well, that should be self-explanatory, but often enough, who knows what's self-explanatory, really. So what I mean is that you would have sex as the guy, but you don't finish, and you don't come. And what does this do? Well, if you're anywhere on social media and you're a man, you've probably heard about the term semen retention, which is, an old concept, that's been talked about for years and years, and like tantric sex and all sorts of stuff. There's the book, I always recommend, The Multi-Orgasmic Man, which you could read. That was certainly from years ago, but now it has a new, face on it, and there's men all over TikTok saying how great it is to not, have an orgasm because you feel like you have more energy and more drive and higher libido, and they say you feel like you have more testosterone. Listen, I don't know what science backs. I assume science backs none of it, but common sense and basically kind of understanding how sex works can help us realize that this could be a very good idea for a lot of guys. So as you get older, and some women think this only happens like when the guy's almost dead, like in his 60s or 70s, that his erections would start to go away. But that's not accurate at all. Basically, in your 40s or 50s, a lot of men start stopping getting morning wood, and the quality of their erections goes down, and they're just not as hard as they used to be. And their libido just isn't what it used to be. And if they're addicted to porn, sometimes this can mask this because they're like jerking off all the time with increasingly, crazy kinds of scenes that, they have to look at. It's not going to be anymore like smelling a woman's perfume like when you were, a teenager. But now you're looking at, group sex and whatever crazy shit, and, like these insane scenes because you're trying to get the same level of arousal that you used to get just from looking at a pretty girl on the street. And when guys cannot, make peace with mortality, they frequently turn to porn subconsciously because it fluffs them up so that they're like hard all the time and ready to go. But they're not really. They just are because they're like, mainlining this drug into their brain. But that's neither here nor there because I've had enough podcasts about porn. But the point is that once you have an orgasm, when you're in your, basically let's say 40s plus, right? Midlife and up. Once you have an orgasm, your refractory period is not what it used to be, so you could have had sex multiple times in an encounter when you were younger, but now you can't. And so if you want to have a different kind of sex life, you just don't have an orgasm, and it will be a lot different because she will still have her orgasm. And of course, this can completely change on its head her idea, your wife's potential idea that you're only having sex for your own orgasm if you don't have one, right? I mean, wouldn't you just like to see her be wrong for once? But if you do not allow yourself to come, then you can go multiple times in an encounter and in an evening and whatever. And as much as women have low sex drive, blah, blah, low sex drive, when they're talking to me individually, there are many women who don't really have low sex drive in as much, as they have disappointment in the encounter that they don't really want to verbalize because the man just, isn't what he used to be. And sure, she isn't either. But, he's not as hard as he used to be. It's not as exciting as it used to be. He's not, can't go as many times in an evening as he used to. So given that, yes, she does have a lower libido as she ages and within monogamy, etc., it's just not as exciting, because it's one and done, and the quality of the erection isn't great, and the whole thing isn't really even that exciting. And if they are doing it multiple times a week, it's boring. And the reason that it is frequently because men underestimate how much their own libido is dampened by age. And so the men that try this, and there's various ways to try this. I mean, it's increasingly I see men using male sex toys as the cock cage and things like that, BDSM type of things. So this goes along with BDSM sometimes. So it can be like denial. So you're not allowed to have an orgasm would be what the couple was pretending. The woman would be in charge of whether or not you're allowed to, or the guy could just decide not to so that he's ready to go the next day or the next morning. A lot of guys, they think that they would be ready to go twice a day or something if their wife was up for it, but they're not because time comes for us all, and they just wouldn't be. So if you are wanting to make the sex more exciting or to artificially, temporarily heighten your libido, then you could choose not to get off in every encounter. And this could be fun because you the same level of blue balls that you would have had when you were like 18 years old is not even a thing. Yeah, it's uncomfortable, but what's more better than that? The discomfort is bad, but on the other side, like watching your wife be really, really impressed that you have, a heightened arousal and heightened libido, and you're really on your A game and you're super focused, all these things that come from, not getting off and not then just blah, being done and being ready to go in the morning or what have you. So some guys, and this of course, is really not relevant for guys who are in totally sexless marriages, which is unfortunately a large percent of the people listening. But there are also a lot of people who listen who have, pretty good sex lives, and they have various other issues in their marriage because they're human beings, and they listen to me because they want to enhance an already pretty good marriage. And in this case, you don't really know what your wife would do if you were just, in better spirits and readier to go and brighter-eyed and bushier-tailed, which is what a lot of men report when they don't ejaculate every time in every encounter. So it could be something to try. Now, you may say, well, that sounds great. I'm going to build up all my energy and I'm going to build up and I'm going to have a massive, wonderful, life-changing orgasm at the end of the week or after not getting off in various encounters, and it's going to build up. It's going to be wonderful. Shouldn't she share the same sort of joy as me? Shouldn't I make her not have an orgasm? Well, be careful there because two things. I mean, if your wife is into BDSM and she likes to be a submissive, then sure, you could try this. You could try to deny her having an orgasm. Many men reach out to me and say, oh my God, after I read your thing about that women secretly like men to be more dominant, I tried it and holy shit, you were right. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Of course I was right. But so if she likes to be your submissive, then sure, try this, right? And try to tell her she's a bad girl and she's not going to be allowed to come. Cool, try. If she gets really mad, actually mad, not play mad, actually really mad at you and says, this is why I don't have sex with you, this is why our marriage is shitty, well then just switch back and say, whoopsie, wrong direction, let's just pretend that didn't happen. But there are some women that'll, get off, haha, pun intended, on that. not actually get off, but get off mentally, you see what I mean, then you wouldn't even know it unless you try it. But the average woman, the best case scenario for the average couple that's trying to spice anything up is for the man to be on like this 100% A game, and for the woman to be the way happy recipient of his increased energy and drive. Like that's the best, most logical, most viable scenario here. Because as I talk about all the time, women have responsive desire. So the greater, I guess that's the best way for you to think about it, responsive desire. So you would be artificially increasing your desire by not ejaculating as much as you used to. Or skipping, ejaculating every so often in certain encounters, then you are artificially heightening your libido and your drive for the next encounter. Some guys on TikTok even say this actually makes your penis bigger. I don't know if I believe that. But anyway, all the guys doing it seem to be real happy about it. And I see all this stuff because, if you talk about sex on TikTok, then on your For You page, they show you everybody else talking about sex on TikTok. So this is why I see that this is now a thing, and it's called semen retention now. Whatever. The point is that the best case scenario is for the man to lead the encounter by having a tremendously high drive and desire for her, and this super elevated desire would then make the woman respond in kind, and the woman can get to have her orgasm, and then she associates positive things with the encounter because she got to have an orgasm at the end. Whereas, and I say this all the time to men and some women that have only talked to assholes because that's who they pick because their childhood had a bunch of assholes in it, you know the drill. They don't believe this, but the majority of men, like 90% of men, if you say, who would you rather have the orgasm in the encounter, you or your wife, they say my wife. And if it's an amazing orgasm because like you're bringing your real A game because you're super focused, well then shit, you feel like a rock star because she got off and it was amazing for her, which means she's going to want to do it again. Listen, you already want to do it again. You're a guy. So you get off, you want to do it again tomorrow or the next day or whatever. And you don't get off, well, then you really want to do it again tomorrow. But not so with her if she doesn't get off. If she doesn't get off, she's like, fuck this noise. I don't want to play ever again. I'm taking my toys and going home. All sorts of puns intended. So what the ideal thing would be for her to have an amazing orgasm in every encounter, and for you, maybe not to. If you're getting to that stage where you've thought, it's kind of not how it used to be here. And I wonder if she's noticing. Whenever you have that thought in bed about anything, I wonder if she's noticing that I got a little soft. Yes, she is. Of course she's noticing. She just doesn't want to say anything. So then these people have these ridiculous, like almost Three Stooges level, comedy routine. Unfortunately, it's not funny to either of them, but it's kind of funny, as an outside, looking in at the situation where the guy is pretending he's hard when he's not hard, and she's pretending he's hard when he's not hard. But everybody knows it's like the Emperor's new clothes or the Emperor's soft dick, and the Emperor's soft dick is not a funny situation when you're in it, but it's like ridiculous and ludicrous. So if you ever are in that situation, by the way, what you should actually do instead of continuing to try to penetrate her with a soft penis is to say, hey, let's wait, let's wait a second, and then you do something to her in the interim, manually, orally, etc. But do not continue that. You could continue it for the couple of seconds until you see if you get it back. But otherwise, yes, she knows. She's aware. It feels very different when it's soft and when it's hard. But that's an aside. Maybe that was worth the price of admission alone. Do not continue to think that she does not recognize that you're soft. If you're soft, it's much better to stop altogether and do something else so that you excite yourself again, or she excites you, hopefully, and then you can continue when you're hard. Or you could just continue for her because she's not getting anything out of, that when it's intercourse, when it's penetrative intercourse with a soft penis, it's like going to a movie with a blindfold on. It's just like not going to work. So you don't do that. But anyway, the point is here, just to sum up, because we're getting to the end of how long I talk for, try, if you have noticed that it ain't what it used to be, and that if you're really honest with yourself, your drive is not what it used to be. Your mind even wanders a little bit during sex if you're being honest sometimes, and she really kind of seems a little bit bored. Then try to elevate your own drive by, not coming in every encounter, which is something that when people report to me, it actually works to make something more exciting. And if the woman is actually fun and into it and whatever, then, maybe she would be the one to decide. Or if you're a woman listening, which half my people listening always are, why don't you decide to say that? Oh, let's do something fun. You're not allowed to come until X day of the week, but we are going to have sex every day. See how it goes. See how long it lasts. If you're into it, he'll be into it. Because you could be into anything. You could be into, involving, I don't even know what, like his 5 best friends in the encounter. Well, I mean, maybe he wouldn't be into that. Maybe he'd be really into that. Maybe it's far beyond how into that he would be. But anyway, guys are really into kind of many things that women are into just because they're excited to see the woman excited about something. And so this is a good one to bring up if you have noticed that he doesn't have the refractory period that he used to. And remember, about 20% of women and about 30% of women I see are in the situation where they're the higher libido partner. And I say this all the time. And for people in this situation, if the woman is the higher libido partner, so people will say to me, girls, women will say to me, I want to come every day. I want to have sex every day, but he can only do it like twice a week. So I say, why does he have to get off every time though? They say, what do you mean? Well, I mean, they don't even think about it because it's just so expected, so de rigueur that the man is going to come. But why does he have to? Then he could have sex every day if he would want to. He maybe can only come twice a week because that's what his body can do, but he can still have sex on the other days, and that would be pretty exciting. And then maybe he would decide that he wanted to do it more and more. You never know what's going to catch somebody's fancy. So there's 2 different ways to look at this. One is the BDSM denial aspect, which you could or could not incorporate. And I get so many requests to talk more about BDSM type of stuff. But again, usually I'm trying to go baseline. But, this is a wrinkle. You could add in the BDSM component to it, denial, edging, that kind of thing. Or it could literally just be pragmatic to increase, how much the guy wants to do it. And to make him feel like he's a little bit younger and more, more on his A game and more focused, as guys are if they cannot ejaculate. Right after they ejaculate, it's like they're the calmest ever. They're not focused. They don't want to have sex. Remember, I did that whole post or podcast or whatever about your refractory period can help you empathize with your wife. I think it was a podcast where I said, listen, of course when, like how your wife feels when she has zero desire. It's how you feel right after you come. Your refractory period is exactly what your wife feels like all the time. So don't pretend that you can't understand what she feels like. So in this case, I'm saying eliminate the refractory period and try. So even if you're nobody that even thinks anything about BDSM or power or kink or anything like that, you could try it for the hell of it as something fun. All right. Well, hope this was useful. Anything I say that ever mentions a penis at all gets lots and lots of listens because people are just very curious about penises, it seems. And hope this was useful and interesting, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye, guys.